word discipline for me is not necessarily that you would hold back from yourself to go to the nice restaurant or to spend the money on a project or a product, but that your awareness, discipline for me is the disciple. I use the word disciple for discipline, that I am aware enough spiritually to know that one of your functions, Destinee, was to eat the karma of your beginning entrance life where you really suffered from poverty, from not being connected, from not having safety, to creating an incredibly abundant world where you can have anything.
Welcome to the I Don't Believe in Astrology podcast. The podcast is dedicated to conscious souls looking to change the world. Astrologer by day, climate activist by night. Here is your host, Debra Silverman.
This is an event. This is Destinee Berman, who was my kind of business partner of sorts for how many years, Destinee? I want to say 6 years.
5-6 years, yes. The time flew by too.
And it was every Monday morning I had a call with Destinee. I used that line for so long. So Destinee Berman, she's going to give you some clues about what she's been doing in her life, but she has been a real ally. If I had to say the single factor that contributed to my business, it would be you. Like, there's no way that I could have reached this many people on planet Earth without Destinee giving me the code. She broke the formula and I got to use it and it worked. So
I know how you say that.
So if you can just describe for the audience what you do, what your label, what your outer expression, Miss Capricorn rising is. And by the way, your chart will appear at some point. I just wanted to let you know that because it's called, the name of this podcast is the I Don't Believe in Astrology podcast, but I know you do believe it.
Absolutely.
So just tell us a little bit what you do.
So this is perfect because Jacob, my son, who is now almost 6, just asked me the other day. He said, "Mommy, what do you do for work?" And I said, "Well, I'm a marketer." And it's true. I've been a digital marketer for 20 plus years. I spent a good chunk of that working corporate in San Francisco, and I was running campaigns back in 2007 when social media was literally getting invented by Facebook at the time. And I was running and working with accounts like Twitter and Box and Sephora. And so it's been a really nice mix of experience. And then as Debra mentioned, when I became an entrepreneur, I said, wow, how can I combine my experience in digital marketing with love and appreciation for education, and specifically in Debra's case, appreciation for astrology. And so I'm amazed at what you have created over the last 5-6 years, and I'm just honored to have been a part of the journey. But, I focus on email marketing. I focus on new client acquisition, and then how do we retain them for longer, especially in this environment where there is uncertainty in the economy and marketers are trying to understand, how can I get more efficient with what I'm putting out there?
Yes. And by the way, it's 8 years. The company is coming into 8 years.
8 years.
Your son is 6 years old. He was pregnant in the middle of one of our launches. So you have to think, I knew you before he was ever conceived.
True. It's true. Yes.
8 years. So, yes, marketing and knowing how to use the digital world of cyberspace and teaching classes and basically Destinee's specialty is she makes you feel like you can do anything. It gives you the code. So if any of you are flirting with, well, how do I go online or what is that universe about? This is definitely what Destinee does. And she's been extremely successful because, let's just pull up your chart. This is what we do at the beginning, because there is a Capricorn in the room. She's got this exceptional gift of, I have to push buttons here and pretend like I know what I'm doing. Go, because I'm better at this than I think. I have to tell myself that all the time. Look at that. Okay. So we have here a sun in Libra. Let me just get this so people can read the English. Let me get this out of the way. Sun in Libra, moon in Cancer, and Capricorn rising, all 3 cardinal. Saturn is on her sun. So we're going to talk a lot about that. She's not only Capricorn rising at the master number 22, but she has Saturn on the sun, which makes her very serious. She's not doing a part-time job. She's not kind of sort of like a typical Libra. She has a very, very precise and very deliberate effort around what? Educating. 9th house, 4 planets in the house of educator. And then she has this wonderful Mercury sitting on the top of the chart in Scorpio, And this is where she and I, it's so funny because my Neptune, I don't know if you remember this, is exact degree on your Mercury. So my dreams were activated by your mental capacity to focus. And she gave me the gift. So here's this very pronounced Mercury. Not only is Saturn on her sun, Mercury is on her midheaven. And then in her 10th house, she has this crazy thing. Mars and Uranus, exact degree, 1 degree off. Mars being her male energy, Uranus being computers and all things technology and being in the future. And she has it in the house of business again. Capricorn is a definite theme in Destinee's chart. Capricorn rising, Saturn on the sun, and then these 2 planets in the 10th, and Mercury also on the midheaven. So this is the short version of me applauding your chart as the indicator. And how did we meet? This is the best story. We were referred by a mutual yoga teacher.
Yes.
I remember distinctly, I was in the house. I remember sitting right here, and she asked for a reading, and then you can talk about that and what happened.
Well, she was just raving about the session she had with you, and she said, you have to go get a session with Debra. I was like, great. I love getting astrology readings. I love meeting new astrologers. And so I booked a session, and I still remember you said, how would you rate your marriage? How would you rate your work? And I was giving myself an 8. You were like, an 8? You Capricorn Cancer.
You can't even give yourself a 10. That's exactly right.
And it was such a gift, that session. I mean, you really pointed the direction. It was so clear. And I felt the power in that session. And I said, gosh.
It's like, there is no more complaining, Destinee. You are done. That is the most beautiful marriage and the most beautiful life in this lifetime, the karma. And we're going to talk about that. The karma that you carried and you turned into flowers from what was once weeds. It was not an easy beginning. And I don't know how you feel about just mentioning that, what your original entrance into this world, how your beginning was. Can you speak to that?
Oh yes, had a very intense entry. My parents were survivors of the Cambodian Holocaust, and so they had fled to a refugee camp from Cambodia in Thailand, right on the border. My mom was pregnant with me about a year in, so they were in the camp for 2 years. And my first year of life was in this refugee camp, born 4 to 5 weeks early. I don't think anyone thought I was going to make it without proper care, and I was just so small. And thankfully, my parents kept it together. And in the U.S., with the Refugee Act passed in 1981, went out and brought people out. And so we were saved by that and ended up in California. So in my body, I've had to do a lot of healing, of feeling safe, of feeling secure, because I could feel that literally just in my cells, right? Parents running for a long time, being pregnant with me, feeling unsafe. And just growing up very, very poor.
And this is so radical. And this is so Capricorn, by the way. Capricorn always has the entrance of life being really difficult and carrying the karma and eating the karma young. So they're old when they're young. And then when they get old, they get younger because they paid the dues.
I love that. And I hope that continues to stay true.
That's the truth, yes. And of course, then they never, ever feel safe. so if I tell you it's true, you're going to have to wonder. But the truth is, the gift of Capricorn is the excellent pursuit of wanting things to be really precise in the name of excellence. Like that is your middle name. So I had the privilege of entering into a company, which this is such a funny story, that I never took a business class in my life. And I distinctly remember you saying, again, it's so funny how my memory works, where I was sitting when you said, Debra, you have a natural thing with numbers. I've watched you. And that has stayed with me all this time because it's true. Like my Mercury's in Taurus, and I've always been able to, and intuitively, it's not logic. And I luckily now have, a controller in my company and all this, the business people that are doing the number crunching, but it's always been through my tummy. And it's like we've had a great karmic relationship that really produced this unbelievable school that to this moment is just continually grown and grown and grown. And, and then when you left, which I thought I'd never lived through it, the person that I hired has a birthday 1 day apart from you the same year.
Of course she did.
And she's so brilliant. And she's so Libra with Mars conjunct Uranus and Saturn on her sun. All of it made me like, okay, well, if I can't have Destinee, I can have her.
I love it. I love it.
Talk about the whole world of business from your point of view and what motivates you. What I'm interested to hear is, as a Capricorn energetic, having two planets in the 10th, Saturn on the sun, Mercury in the midheaven, what is it that drives your appetite for wanting to accomplish and move energy?
Well, it's funny because I feel like you've been saying it. One is results, right? Actually was having a meeting with a company, I think it was last week, and he said, "You're just so matter of fact to the point." And it's true. Results driven. It's black and white in that sense. It's, are you driving outcomes or not? And are you hitting your objectives? So I'm definitely motivated by results. I'm motivated by revenue in the business world. So I'm motivated by growth, right? And I think you pointed this out with my ninth house sun, where I want to grow. And I think that when I start to get bored or I'm not challenged, then, I get in trouble. So growing revenue, results, that is all very much my Capricorn. My progressed moon shifted into 10th house, and I feel that shift, wanting to work with bigger companies, right? And it's astrology to me is just perfect. And so I feel that, but results in revenue and growth so that I am not bored.
Talk to us, because this is the underbelly of you that's not obvious, is the spirituality. So tell us about your practice or what you do to keep yourself able to manifest at that level without sacrificing your balance.
Yes. So I've learned this a long time ago, where if I can't stay clear, and whether you're a leader, whether you're an entrepreneur, is if you're not clear, you create chaos in your business, in your work life. And that just goes for anyone who has responsibility and who are, where you're just leading teams. And so I chant about 5 days a week. It doesn't happen every day after I became a parent. So before I became a parent, I would say that every day was a little bit easier, but on average now I chant five times a week. I meditate every day. Sometimes it's only 10 minutes, but I do have my meditations that I use. I use hypnotherapy at nighttime to reset my programming. And then I work with an energy worker every week. It used to be a couple times a week, but I've been able to stabilize my own work. And so we work on my energetic body to make sure that continues to shift as I grow. Otherwise, you also leave yourself behind. And so the best I can, it's not perfect. There are days when
Aren't you doing yoga?
Oh yes, yoga is just baseline, I feel like.
Didn't say it. So yoga is part of the process too.
Yes. Yoga is, moving the body, keeping the body there and present. And then with all these practices, I still have crazy days. My team on certain days, I was like, what is going on? But it helps improve the chances of being clear, making big decisions, and being okay with that.
And this is the nature of Capricorn, Cancer, Libra. It's all cardinal. So this is a personality type who takes the initiative. I love when you taught me, I learned so much from you. When you taught me, we don't babysit employees. I was like, we don't babysit employees, but Destinee doesn't babysit employees. Like the cardinal energy that you expect of yourself to be responsible for your energy, responsible for your mind, responsible for your body. That's the invitation to people that are around you. And so in our working relationship, it was so effortless because I am also I'm double cardinal, you're triple, but the quality of taking responsibility.
Right.
This is the essence of Destinee. Like you cannot be around Destinee in the name of her business and not be like, what did you say? What did you do? And are you on time? Let's go.
It's true. But that's why it was so easy for us, because we were on the same wavelength.
So if you're listening to this, the conversation that I've had on so many of my podcasts has been, almost all of them, has been the climate issue, which I know you're not versed in. There is the implication that the planet, I just did a keynote this weekend, so I've been very full of this conversation because I worked with a geologist who was talking about the long view and that the planet is in a dire strait. Like there's no debate. And yet I'm interested in you because you don't pursue it and you don't educate yourself about it. So I'd love to hear what your thought process is in light of your son and in light of your future. Like, how does your thoughts go around? I'm so curious what is coming or what you smell or sense or hear from the collective.
So I'm probably the extreme of this, right? So my husband, Seth, right, he is on track of, I would say, a much larger sphere of what's going on in the world. I think if you were to see what I tune into, whether it's on social media or my emails, it's very ultra focused. So marketing, technology, and that is my view. I'm probably guilty of not digging into more of what's happening with the world. You know, I keep my thread on politics and of course the economy because that all impacts. And in terms of climate change, I would be guilty of even trying to have, I think, a sophisticated conversation, you know, around this. And I think that's kind of what you were getting at. It's like you've been having all this content around the subject matter. And yeah, it's not one.
I think it's so wonderful. I think this is so wonderful that this is so Mercury and Scorpio, by the way. You're single-eyed.
Yes.
You're like, let Seth do that. He can be interested, but I am going to contribute to my world with excellence by staying focused.
Yes. Now there is a detriment to that, and I'm doing my best to open up my sphere. But it is the way I consume information. Here's the other thing I've noticed. So let's say you say to me, Destinee, I think it's really important you dive into this. What I figured out for myself, and it took me a long time, is, okay, great. Let me block out 4 days. And I'm just going to go into that topic deep and focus. And that's all I'm thinking about for 4 days. And I've noticed that when I'm learning, when I'm getting up to date on investing and finances or, you know, the metaverse, I do better with that. Super focus. And then I can just track on the periphery. Otherwise, my mind just goes into this overwhelm, or even my emotional body goes into overwhelm.
I love that so much. This is an attribute, kind of a credibility about astrology, that once you understand your sensibilities, and I've watched Destinee and I, because we've known each other this long, to see the level of your success. Like, this is Capricorn. So you are so Capricorn. I'm aiming for success. The bigger, the better, the more productive, the less effort, the higher the return. I'm in. That's how you work. Like, where is the return? How can I optimize my efforts by being educated and staying the course? And there is nothing that this is, if the whole world knew how to stay the course like you do, and they gave themselves the integrity of cleaning their energy, that's the distinction. It's very male who you are and what you do, the productivity, the measuring sticks, the numbers. I remember I would think, it was so fun. She always had a calculator sitting on the side of her computer. Sure. Like, and she started talking to me, and I was like, there goes Destinee. So this is the greatest part, is the focus. But in your case, you also complement that with your internal world.
Yes. Yes.
That's your moon Cancer. Like, you respectfully take care of your energy.
Yes.
That's where I give people great permission. If I meet someone who's not interested in my favorite topic, climate, we've changed to climate consciousness, who's not interested necessarily in the softer, distractible energetics in the world, then I look to see what's the nature of their heart. You're in love with your husband and your child, like the level of your little moon in Cancer.
It's true.
6 years old. It's kind of shocking.
He's 6 in September. Yes. And he grabs my calculator. Speaking of the calculator, I don't have one next to me because he just grabbed it. And he's walking around the house punching numbers on the calculator.
He's a Virgo. He can't help himself.
Exactly. It's the cutest thing.
So permission to take your earthbound practical self, those of you in the audience who are probably not listening to this podcast because you're out working, but the quality of business brought to you by an emotional internal world that is equally valued, from the family dynamic to your own energy, to your body, to your chanting. Now, when there's equal play, Libra, so she's got this extreme ambition and then an extreme responsibility on the inside. And now we have balance.
I love how you said that. I'm going to borrow that.
And it's unfortunate that in our world, we tend to either be weak on either side, not really taking care of the body with conviction, not really being bottom line and clear as you are. And this has been the definition of your success. And I think part of we're so similar this way, I'm Libra rising, is that in this lifetime, the word discipline for me is one of my favorite. I don't know, people don't like the word discipline. I love it.
It's funny. I was just thinking about this. I was thinking about spending discipline and money discipline, right? Because everyone's talking about the economy and all of that. And I was even asking myself, I said, how much discipline do I have with spending? To TBD, because there are certain things I love to spend on. You know, we love to go out, we love to enjoy restaurants. And there's certain things I think we're pretty good with, but it's funny you bring up that word because I literally was just reflecting.
And the word discipline for me is not necessarily that you would hold back from yourself to go to the nice restaurant or to spend the money on a project or a product, but that your awareness, discipline for me is the disciple. I use the word disciple for discipline, that I am aware enough spiritually to know that one of your functions, Destinee, was to eat the karma of your beginning entrance life where you really suffered from poverty, from not being connected, from not having safety, to creating an incredibly abundant world where you can have anything.
Yes.
And that's so radical. That's discipline. It would have been undisciplined for you to have gotten caught in the fear.
Yes.
Or to get caught in the spending. But as long as awareness is on, and this is one of the gifts that when I miss you, because in business, while I have an amazing team, the thing that I loved the most about working with you was there was never stuff between us.
Yes.
It was effortless. And for me, that's a statement about your energy. That you are always taking care of your client. So there's no edge. There's no emotional content. There's no competition. There was just generosity. And same for me. I spend every day managing my energy. I'm heading towards 70. It's so shocking. I'm watching myself age and getting better and better because people, I don't know why they don't ask. I've often thought about this. I should do a whole podcast on longevity. What has allowed me to feel better in my mid-60s?
Love that. That is a great topic.
And you are doing it. So Destinee, as a Capricorn rising, you're preparing for your old age by giving yourself the life in the now that is fully abundant. So, and you're preparing, I know you're socking money away.
Of course. Well, of course, that is a responsible thing to do. And that's a responsible thing to do.
I think what I mean is there is a depth to consciousness. This is the thing. And I remember when you started studying astrology, you'd already known it. You'd been studying it before I arrived. Talk to me about that. What was your original relationship with astrology? How did it begin?
You know, I think like many people, I was thinking about this too. I came to it because I was in pain. So I went through this very emotional relationship breakup at the time. You know, I was young, I was in my 20s, and to be fair, everything is more dramatic then, but it was a very heartfelt relationship, and I didn't have a lot of boyfriends. You know, I was dating, but if I was in relationship, I was in relationship. And so the breakup was hard, and I didn't understand it, and I was confused. And that's actually what led me to go through this whole self-discovery process. And then I found astrology. I found the first astrology reading I ever had was from Gal Sasson out of LA. And he was incredible. And then I found Stephen Forrest through more research. And I was, you know, going to blogs like Cafe Astrology back at the time and studying solar returns. And then I started studying Stephen's work in evolutionary astrology. And really, that's kind of how I stayed in that world. And then I started meeting all these different astrologers. And it became a thing that I embraced and that I loved.
It's almost, I've always thought this about you, that you're a priestess, you're reincarnated, or you're recapitulating a memory about the spiritual higher levels, like a royalty in the spiritual realm, of course, would have an astrologer. That was a given across all time, the oldest science on earth. And that your taste buds, because we know you've got the most expensive taste buds, that your Capricornian standards came with a memory of some unconscious level where you sat in temples chanting and praying and holding the highest frequency. And how hard it is for so many people who have this strong Capricorn to not feel materialistic with that. Because it comes with, like, am I spending too much? Why do I always want the best? Her Italian kitchen and her quality of her home and the nature of her clothes. And I always got the best presents. Whenever Destinee sent me anything, it was the best. So there's probably, for some of you watching this who have strong Capricorn, it comes with a little bit of shame. Like, am I materialistic? Am I just concerned about results and not really about the people?
Yes.
And the flip side of that is, in the name of the priestess, she sat in temples. I always think of the high priestess when I think of you, Destinee. And she did not encounter people. She worked with the frequency and the energetics that was exclusively hers to stay connected and to not let herself dilute. And is that not you?
Yes, I think so. I think so. And you've been telling me this for years about the high priestess and the past life, remembering the practices, and it's always rang true. It's always been resonant. But no, I see it. I can see it.
People that are watching this is a unusual podcast. We're talking more about astrology. That is, how do you get permission to accept the nature? Because it's so clear in Destinee's case, looking at her chart, Capricorn rising, Saturn on the sun, Mercury in the midheaven, and 2 planets in the 10th. All of it, and by the way, your progressed moon's in Capricorn right now. All of that is to say there is a high level of appetite for her, and that is an easily misinterpreted flavor. I would say that at worst, Capricorn live with a arrogance and a cut offness where they don't know how to bond unless there's purpose to it.
Yes. Yes.
And that creates a separation. On the upside of that is, think about this, all of you. What if your spiritual self, if you had strong Capricorn, knew that your function was to refine and embody? Think anyone that's wealthy or highly successful or the best at what they do, they can't mingle.
Interesting. That's interesting.
And there's permission, and it's hard for us in our society because we're trying to level the playing field. But the law of this universe is there's a pyramid. There's always energetic at the top. And you don't get to the top without climbing the mountain with full effort. And that's what Destinee's done. So you've comforted me and you've taught me so much, because when I started my business, one, I was a single mom for many years. My husband had passed, and I was ultimately responsible to raise this child in a way that my Saturnian nature required the best for him. And so it put me into the role of doing the best astrology I could do and charging the most money. And that was all justified by him. But I never considered what it would be like to expand my capacity to receive till I met you. Like, you really blew open my limitations around. And I just remember like looking at the numbers. I remember my accountant calling me at one point and going, "What exactly are you doing?"
Is it legal?
Online school. You have an online school in the tune of millions? Like, this is unheard of. And that was all Destinee. That was all so permission for all of us. This is a really important conversation, to let your mind be opened enough to not limit the judgments that come with success or abundance or wealth. And it's really something I've had to massage, because I think as an astrologer of many lifetimes, I was behind the chambers of the kings. I was never in the front of the place. I was living in special sacred spaces where I was studying like crazy at the esoteric law. And this lifetime, they're like, "Come in the front, Debra. We're going to put you on a camera."
Oh, I can see that. I can get that visual. Yes.
So permission to all, the others of you, this is Destinee and I having destiny together. We have reached a success, and she continues to grow as I do. But for some of you watching this, the question is, why don't I have that expertise or that excellence or the appetite to work like we work? Because it is so true for you. Talk about that, your work ethic. I'd love to hear you put it into words. How would you describe it?
So part of it, I think, is training and being ingrained in me. So who knows what my work ethic would look like if I didn't grow up in such an intense childhood where my parents were, for the first 8 years of my life, figuring it out. I worked in all the family businesses. So, I didn't get the kind of childhood where we had the summer camps and the after school activities. One, we couldn't afford it. And two, they needed help in the family businesses, which there was a range. So I think that working became second nature to me, which you could argue is also a great thing. And so waking up and working within my structure is not even something I think about, right? And then the next question became, well, what is it that I want to do work in if it's just so ingrained in me to wake up and go to work? Now, being a mom has been incredibly such a gift, because if I wasn't a mom, that workaholic that I had for years probably would have gone more extreme, right? Especially when there's more at stake as you create and accomplish. And so being a mom has really helped me set boundaries around, okay, it's great to just hang out and relax and not do anything. But to your point, Deb, for the longest time, especially before I became a mom, it was like, great, it's a work day. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do work. And how can I be productive doing it?
I'm going to ask, this is so perfect. There's a series of questions that come with the podcast, which is a perfect bridge right here. So This is a great question. If you weren't talking about online marketing and knowing how to use the internet and being able to produce people's results all the time, what would you do instead? Can you imagine if you didn't have to work in that field? What would grab your attention?
Well, I love being creative. So speaking, right? Speaking, and that is something that I do now. But if I just had to pick some projects like writing, speaking.
What about decorating? I think you're a natural decorator. Is that true?
I love design. I love interior design and the art pieces. So that is like part of the creative, like architecture, right? I can definitely see that.
That's you.
Beautiful spaces, but definitely I would say creating. So writing and speaking and interior and yes.
If it's still in this sentence, I wish that people would
be willing to do what they want to do, even if it seemed out of reach or if it wasn't within their wheelhouse.
That's so ninth house, that you wish they would just dream bigger, that they would go past their comfort.
Yes. And to have that realization that no matter what, it's a skill to be learned, it's a practice to be had. Like, it's usually doable these days. With online, you can learn anything.
You can. This ninth house. Tell us, if there is something that you wouldn't want to live without, what are some of the things in life that you just wouldn't want to live without?
Getting massages. That's one of my favorite things, right? Being in nature and, being with water and being in nature. Really good food. That is just, I cannot compromise on that. High quality, well prepared food. And we're talking about the material pleasures.
That's exactly right. And I'm sure, obviously, of course, your kid and your husband and that.
Of course.
Okay, tell me this one. If there was a person in your life that that was alive or not alive, that you could have a long conversation with, or you could really get in their head, who would you want to have a conversation with?
Probably sounds cliche, but like Michelle Obama would be someone I would be very
Capricorn.
Yes.
And what would make her so interesting to you?
Well, one, how much she has accomplished and created in her life, and understanding. So, even after the presidency, creating this Obama brand and having a platform and the deals, and understanding along the way how she was willing to keep moving forward, because I'm sure there were blocks, I'm sure there were barriers, and having that deep fundamental belief in yourself that even if it seemed impossible or unreachable, they figured it out together and they kept moving forward. And I think that's incredible.
Me too. She is absolutely one of my heroes of heroes.
Yes.
And I wish people could actually really take in what she has accomplished.
Yes.
Capricorn. When's the last time that you cried?
Maybe 2 weeks. Not that long ago. I was feeling very emotional. I truly can't remember what, but I was feeling emotional. My body was sensitive. I don't know if it was around Jacob. I could have been frustrated with Jacob. I felt out of control, right? The parenting that comes up for me being out of control. So a couple of weeks ago.
And are you an optimist, or how do you feel about the future when you, knowing that you're not well versed in the climate crisis issues, when you reach into the future, what do you feel?
My fundamental belief across a world crises and war and economy is that I have a deep hopefulness that as human beings and humanity will figure it out. And I do believe, or you could say I'm hopeful that we can figure it out. Of course, if we can't and it doesn't work out, that's certainly one path. But I do believe that even if we have to redo financial structures and government, there is a deep hopefulness in me that we will figure it out as a race, as just being humans, and that ultimately we all want to be here and grow and thrive and have food in our bellies. And that is ultimately what I go back to.
So beautiful. And what do you know for sure? Like, this is the last question. If there's something in this life that you could say what Destinee has experienced without question.
What I continue to know without question is that no matter what shows up in my life, so whether it is self-imposed challenges, whether it is the unexpected, if I'm willing to stay connected to me, everything can be moved through and figured out. And even if it doesn't look like what you thought it would look like, we have the resources and the innate essence to be with what shows up. That is what I continue to know. It may not be easy. I may be complaining sometimes, but I do dig in and we figure it out with the universe, with consciousness, like that.
So beautiful. And you stay with yourself. That's such a beautiful answer. Destinee. All I know is I love that your name is Destinee and that we spent Monday mornings together for all those years and that my company continues to flourish. And that honestly, you instrumentally, and there's lots of people that could be sitting in this position saying what I'm saying, that your example of nothing but excellence and do not stop and expect the best. That's what I've noticed with you. You're so Sagittarius, you're so ninth house. Just, you obviously, I would say to her, she'd say, here's the launch coming up and here's the numbers. And I go, what? And then sure enough, it would show up with that and then some. And I'd be like, she was right. And as years have gone by, the same thing is true now with my marketing person working with me. She's always right. And it's hard for me because I'm very cautious. My Mercury's in Taurus. I don't really match you. Like I see your exuberance and your enthusiasm and how you can feel so comfortable in that kind of lifestyle. And I'm like, Mercury in Taurus, a little more conservative. And I learned from you to say, yeah, of course we can. Yes. Of course. As long as you crossed your T's, dotted your I's, taken the responsibility, stayed the course, of course you can. And that level of practical optimism has given me the gift this life of my lifestyle. So honestly, I can't say thank you enough. I noticed on your website, I wasn't on it, got my feelings hurt. Like, I'm not one of her clients that's on, because I just looked at your website.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Because we were together for so many years. Like that was a long movie.
It's true. Oh my goodness. Well, to be fair, yes, ultimately I signed off the approvals. And my team, to be fair, did pull a handful, and that was that. But
the truth is, it doesn't really matter. It's just that's so honest of me. Like, where's my ego sitting right next to me? Looking at Destinee, it's like going, why aren't I there? And the truth is, this is what the gift of success is. To your point about it being an inner job, like as long as it was such a wonderful feeling. There's no question that the contribution that you and I have made to numbers of people, including listening to this podcast, giving people hope and faith. And Destinee has really lives this. You can come from whatever your childhood handed you, whatever the trauma crisis patterns are, and then you can change your mindset and set it up for other people to see your example and they get set free. So that is the best contribution we can make in this lifetime.
Warms my heart, Deb.
Just the truth. Okay. So I don't believe in astrology is not going to be a sentence out of Destinee's mouth. I remember you saying to me when we first met, I've wondered who the astrologer would be. I'd love to help you do an online school. I was like, a what? I've never heard of it.
Because I had seen an online school in my future. I was just trying to figure out which astrologer it was going to be with. I saw the vision.
Sitting in Hawaii at the ocean and you saying, we got this. Me like, okay, I'm going to trust her. Fast forward, it's nothing but success that has occurred because of our association. So I think.
I thank you. You're so welcome.
Thank you so much for listening. We want to keep this conversation going with you, so please subscribe to our podcast and leave a rating and review to make sure you never miss an episode. Remember, climate activist by day, human by night. Send Debra a DM on Instagram at Debra Silverman Astrology and visit DebraSilvermanAstrology.com. And we're going to leave you like we leave every single episode. Make it your mission to change the world.